Two down. Yeah, there's a green one and then a yellow
I
one.
think that's, I think that's owned by Stanford Bean.
Because somebody was living there at one time, and I don't believe anybody's there anymore.
No,
How big is it?
So it's huge.
it's, 5. I think it's 5 apartments.
It's a good sized building.
Yeah.
And back in the, back in the 80s,
Older woman.
and, well, actually it was, Stanford Bean's father. My parents decided to move down to Northfield for a short while to live closer to where I was. And they rented one of the apartments there, and they took care of it very nice. Things were done really well.
That was always good.
Yeah. And then they decided that they wanted to go back to Hyde Park to live, but it was more family. So they went back to move there, to live in their mobile home that they owned up in Hyde Park. And that's, I think they lived down here for about 7 years.
Yeah, there's some, actually one guy moved in there, and he, the school bus, old school bus sitting in there.
Yeah,
A couple other vehicles, I believe.
yeah,
It's just overgrown a little bit.
it's all, I think of Homer Bean that owned it. His son Stanford has it now.
Yeah, I think there was, I thought there was one or two older women that were living there at one time.
It was.
Yeah, I've been on them for a couple of years.
Mr. Bean is, wouldn't be classified as a high-class citizen. Let's leave it that way.
Well, I suppose we can start the meeting and we can do the minutes and stuff and see if Paul shows up. He indicated to me he's out of town, but was gonna join remotely.
Where's Bill today?
Key West.
Oh.
For work.
Hmm?
For work. He's
Yeah.
down there.
What's that, Mitch?
You wanna, yeah, you can do the honors.
Thank you. Today is what, February 26th, and
That's
this is the
correct.
Northfield Development Review Board for the monthly meeting, and the time is 7:04. And members here today, present, Kevin Pecor,
Present.
Arroyo,
Present?
Brian Massey,
Present.
Joel Valera is here, and Bill Smith is absent tonight. Have the members had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting from October?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Are there any questions, omissions?
Only, some clerical. Unless we're calling it survey plats, is that technical?
The typical way we do it, just to be formal, is we get a motion to approve the minutes in a second, and then during discussion, you can grill me on my typos, and I'll fix.
And
then
then you
you'll-
wanted to fix before we approve, but sure.
Well, that's the way they usually do it, the people that know what they're doing, but
I make a motion to approve minutes. Second.
Okay, any discussions?
go.
Just 3 clerical.
Well, I'm glad somebody reads these anyway,
So it shows proof that I do read these.
and I see I failed to put numbers on the pages, which
I can hand you.
is
mine.
good for this one. So, okay. My typos include, holy cow, look at that. Well, actually, survey plat, that's the word.
Is it?
Spell check doesn't like it, but it's called a survey plat.
Oh,
Well, hey, so that's not so bad after all.
Chat GBT failed me.
Well, it pesters me all the time too, but I say, you don't know it's jargon, you don't know the technical stuff. So only things about the survey plat, so those are actually not the typos they appear to be.
As it appears, there are none.
Everything else good then?
Good.
Okay,
So,
thank you, Joel, yeah, you want to take a vote now?
yes, yes. So we have a vote on the minutes, approve the minutes. All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Passed.
4-0.
All right,
And
so
now
as I sort of mentioned before the meeting, I'll just mention it now that we're actually in our formal meeting. Paul Simino, I did talk to him about coming back for conditional use review, which he said was fine. He's on vacation this week, but he was intending to join us remotely. I did send him, like a week ago, I sent him a copy of the agenda with the link, but he hasn't seemed to join us, so we may have to just table till next month, and that's not,
Nice that.
Okay, we have a motion on that? Or you want to give them a few more minutes?
why don't we,
Do we have any
Sure.
more old business?
we don't have that much old business. I think what I'll mention real quickly is, just some housekeeping stuff. What happens in Northfield is that a bunch of terms on boards and commissions and such expire the month of town meeting. And usually the second meeting in March, the select board makes all the reappointments of people with expiring terms, or they appoint new people. I don't think we have anybody expiring this year, so we won't have any new people coming or old people going. So everything will continue as it is. And typically what happens is the first meeting following that date where they do all the appointments, most bodies hold at their next scheduled meeting an organizational meeting to say, hey, here's the date and time that we usually meet. Are we going to continue with that practice? And then if we've got officers, we'll revote on who wants to be chair and vice chair and all that. So I'm just saying now that what we'll plan to do is do that. We can do it either in March or we can do it in April. It might be tidier to just do it in April. Then we don't have to worry about which meetings happen before the second. I think we meet on the fourth Thursday of the month, which will probably be after the second select board meeting at which they'll do the appointments, but we may as well just wait till April and do our organizational meeting as part of that month.
Do you foresee any business coming before the board between?
Well, this one will be coming back,
obviously.
and I don't know anything else well, I've got one that's possible. Well, I'll bring that up when we just do our little, I usually do later, well, it will be sooner, but my little notes about, hey, here's what's going on in town. There is one possible thing that might come up just because, well, I'll get to it in a moment, but anyway, but I'll just say organizationally, I'm going to expect that in April, we'll include on the agenda our organizational meeting about electing officers and stuff. And there's a decent chance we'll meet in April, but yeah, we sort of had a little lull where toward the end of last year, beginning of this year, we went like 3 months without a meeting, and that's not normal, but we'll see what happens.
Have you heard any more about the Bailey Road property? Any schedule on when that was going to be?
I actually was contacted by the owners because I think what happened is they had this is just a reminder, there's a old farmhouse that was scheduled for a controlled burn by the fire department for a fire training exercise. That wound up getting appealed, and the appeal was denied. But once it got appealed, it was toward the hot, dry part of the year, and they said, oh, we're not gonna do the burn in the fall. So they were planning to do it in the spring. I was contacted by the owner of the property who said that they had to renew their state permits. And she wanted to know if we had to reapprove the municipal permits for this, and I said, no. Any zoning permit that I approve is good for 2 years. That's in our regulations, so I did say it makes sense that the state might say, when we approve this, it's gotta happen within a short window of time, and if we don't, then we'll redo it. So that is, she's working through, I haven't talked to the fire chief about this yet, but I think I will. But, she said, yeah, they're working through all that, so I think the plan is to probably do it in the spring. And I also, you reminded me, adjacent, I will mention there's a property up on Union Brook Road, way up toward the top, that, has an old cabin on it that the owner of that property told me last fall, or I guess it was late summer, early fall, that she was talking to Pete DeMassey about doing a controlled burn of that old cabin as well. But nothing has come through, but I knew it wasn't gonna happen during the winter, so I will.
Are you talking about the old Wrigley cabin?
Nope, well, I don't know if it's called the Wrigley cabin. It's the property that is owned by, crud.
Kurt?
Nope, the husband, it was a Garcia.
Oh, Paul.
Oh,
The husband passed away recently.
Paul,
yeah.
Yep. And the wife said that, yeah, they, pardon?
Paul Garcia.
Paul Garcia.
Yeah.
Garcia, I never remember how
Yeah.
people pronounce that. But anyway, yes, she had there's an old little cabin that they were gonna try to do a controlled burn of. And so I will check with Pete and see if that is still something that's planned or anticipated for this year, and make sure that the state permitting stuff is being done. I think this is I don't think this was ever a residential dwelling, so it doesn't have the kind of infrastructure that had to be pulled out like the
right.
one on Bailey Road did, but there's still probably, the state, I'm sure, still has their procedures for how they wanna do all that, so.
One other update, if you've had it, in the property down by Dollar General, any updates on that?
I emailed the developers of that property, they did not respond, and I tried to tell them, I'm not being a past honest. I just have people asking me, so I'd like an update if you've got one to share, and they didn't, so I didn't want to nag them, so what I'm gonna do is talk to Tom Davis, because he talks to those guys with some regularity, and I'll find out if Tom knows anything, but yeah. And I did include in my email that I assumed that this time of year, there's not any reason for them to get on the ground and do any work until spring, so that's, my expectation is that they wouldn't start anything until the spring, but they didn't even respond, so I don't know if they're still having financial difficulties they're trying to work out. I don't want to be pest about it, I just try to keep.
A lot of people looking for an update on.
Yeah, so I did try to say, hey, people are curious, and try to be encouraging upbeat about this, not try to be a nag, but.
I see myself, Main Street, the old Masonic Temple, they had people moved into there now.
Yeah, I was gonna check in with them, because I don't think I ever formally assigned addresses to that property. I'll have to probably do that, so that they are using the same address that the police.
Oh.
Postal Service is looking for, if we're calling them 101 to 116 or whatever they are, I'll figure out what I don't remember even now, I have to look at my notes and see how many apartments they were doing there, but I have a note to myself on my desk to make sure to get those addresses assigned. So I'll do that, so. I guess since I have already segued into my notes, I'll give you one more. I understand that I believe it's called the Engine House on Whetstone Drive has been sold.
Okay.
And I understand that it was sold, I don't know the name of the company, and the person that explained this to me didn't give me the name either, but there is a company in Vermont that builds and repairs guitars and lots of other stringed instruments. And I think they at one time had a place that they kind of worked out of, but during the pandemic, all the luthiers and other tradesmen just started working from their homes. And some of these instruments passed through a lot of hands, and they were just
Scattered.
sharing them, passing them along as they needed to. But now that we're out of the pandemic, I guess they decided they really would like a place to work out of, so they've acquired that property and are planning to move in there probably in the spring, but I haven't heard anything officially about that.
That'll be better used than residential,
Yeah, yeah,
in
so,
that proximity to the tracks.
yeah, so that's encouraging.
Now, the property out back, the old wood product building, there was talk about somebody buying that at one time.
Yeah, Tom Davis has more conversations with Martha, and is it Paul? No, it's not Paul.
No,
Dexter. So owns it, right?
no, Glenn.
Glenn and Martha. Tom winds up talking to them more regularly than I do, but I'll make a point of checking in with Tom and say, hey, what else are you hearing about Freight Yard Way?
Yeah.
And I do know that there's another property that, it had another name. A couple of people bought it and they were thinking about putting some short-term rental properties in there, and they wound up passing on that. And I understood that they were in conversations with people about selling that property, but haven't heard anything from Tom recently about where that is, but
Yeah.
I think they've decided they're really not. I think her story was that she had like 2 or 3 kids that were going to Norwich and she was coming up here all the time. So she said, oh, I might as well do something in town. And I think she's realizing that time goes by pretty fast and she's not going to be traveling up here for that many more years. So,
If I recall, she had one of the person that had an investment, opportunity with her on that building, and together the two of them were gonna renovate that building, and then I remember the meeting that the comments you had made that they had given up on that.
well, they started to do some renovations, and then when the flood happened in 2023, they were finding it hard to line up contractors. And at the time, she said, oh, other people need contractors worse than we do, so we don't mind waiting. And I think after a year and a half of that, she's like, oh, well, maybe we don't need to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't have any more recent updates on that, but I do remember talking to Tom a while ago and him telling me that there were conversations about that building, but nothing that had come to fruition yet. So
Now, I also had heard, people talking about the property past Cabot Hosiery up off West Stone Drive, about the possible development going up there. I don't know if you had heard anything about that.
let's see, I think the land surrounding the Whetstone Drive property of Cabot is commonly called the Foran Farm.
Mhm.
It was 120 or so acres that was owned by Barry Schweenard, who's now passed away. His wife, or widow Bonnie, still owns that property. Tom Davis has been talking to her for several years now about the possibility of developing part of that property as starter home type things for
Residential.
young working families, which Bonnie seems very interested in. Some of her kids / grandkids have sometimes been enthusiastic, sometimes less so, but Bonnie still wants to do it. So Tom's been working with them.
Okay.
And something that a couple of you are on the planning commission, you know that we've had some talks with Tom about, they're working on, Tom has been working with the CVRPC, Regional Planning Commission,
Yeah.
about doing a special designation to make that area something that is specifically available for residential development, which will open up the possibilities and tax credits and this and that. And at our last planning commission meeting, as a matter of fact, last month, Tom gave us a draft of some regulation things that would need to be updated in our regulations just to make this area appropriate for the kind of development that we want to do. And so we'll be talking about that again next week already, I think, because we got planning commission meeting coming up next week, so.
A good share of that 120 acres up there, well, a good share, I don't know what the percentage would be, but it's the lower field, and that's all.
Well,
That's all
yeah,
flooded out.
the whole parcel is 120, 130 acres, something like that. I think the development area is much smaller. It's about a 20 acre or so parcel right down off of Route 12 or Whetstone Drive, that area.
Yeah.
The other stuff is, some of it is conserved wildlife habitat, and some people say, well, the deer can go anywhere. It's like, but yeah, but it's also steep slopes and
Mhm.
farther away from infrastructure. It's not, you're not gonna run well and sewer up the side of the mountain anyway, so. 20 acres or so with some denser housing, you can build a lot of houses, so.
Yeah.
So I think they decided that's a realistic project to tackle, so
Good.
that is, I think more is going to be announced about that probably within the coming months.
Maybe they'll build a new grocery store while they're
Huh?
at it. Maybe they'll build a new grocery.
Yeah, I heard
store.
So yeah, so I think that you'll be hearing more about that in the short term, I think.
Bonnie's been wanting the town to put a lot of money into building roads
Mhm.
and the town is pushing back that, why should, we're not ready to spend that kind of money on something that may never happen.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll see, yeah, but hopefully people will be able to come to some compromise about wanting to see something, even if it's a smaller scale than originally planned. Something will be better than nothing, and if you start something, then you can always develop it more later if the demand is there, so. I guess
You know,
Tom's a good negotiator, I'll leave that sort of stuff to him.
because Barry bought that property specifically for playgrounds for him and his grandchildren.
Okay,
He wasn't planning on redeveloping it or doing a thing to it.
yep.
And so when he retired, he bought it.
Mhm.
And then his health went quicker than, so that's where it stays.
Yep. All right, so I guess that was my run through of what's going, I think the other thing I was gonna mention is I've been having some conversations with the owner of the mobile home park in Northfield Falls. They put a couple of mobile homes on the lot recently, and I had written to him a year ago just to remind him that vacant lots need a zoning permit when you put a new dwelling on them, and he hadn't been doing that. And late last fall, they poured 2 or 3 new cement slabs, and a neighboring property owner expressed to me some concerns about how close one of those slabs appeared to be to the property boundary. And I hadn't expected them to put a mobile home up over the winter time, but early January they did. They put a couple of homes on, and I wrote to the guy and said, hey, I really need zoning permits for these new lots that you've developed. And he sent me, I sent him 3 copies of zoning permits, and he sent me back the front page of all 3, but he didn't send me the second page that has the sketch plan that shows the setbacks. So I wrote back to him and said, appreciate the applications, but they're incomplete. I really need page 2, and he didn't respond. So I'm writing him a letter, which I will get in the mail tomorrow, I think, to say.
So the existing homes up there are on dirt.
Yep. What happened was, I don't know exactly when this happened, but in recent years, the DEC, I think it's the DEC that oversees these, whoever oversees mobile homes in the state, says they implemented a rule that says mobile homes have to be securely anchored.
Mhm.
And the easy way to do that is to pour a cement slab and anchor it. That's not the only way to do it, but that's what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
And so they poured slabs for the new homes, and so, and I did acknowledge, I talked to the select board about this, and I even acknowledged that I think some municipalities require a permit for a cement slab. Our regulations aren't clear about what, to be literal, it is a foundation, so we probably could require a permit for a cement slab.
Yep.
In practice, it has not been the practice to require a permit, which I was just sort of taking the stance that since our regulations are unclear, I've not been requiring it. And
Would that be based on dimensional?
no, I think just definition of we didn't say, hey, a concrete slab creates a foundation and that needs a permit because it's land development. We don't require, if somebody wants to put down a stone patio or something, we don't require a permit for that. But if somebody puts a deck up, we require a permit for that. Is a cement slab more like a deck than a stone patio? Maybe. It's the foundation of a home, so yeah, it probably ought to have a permit, but we've not made a practice of requiring that. We probably should, but select board they scolded me a little, said I should just do it. And I said, well,
What is the definition of slab? Because that is a slab foundation, whether.
Yeah.
Most
slab
companies
walls.
are requiring that you have a pad down.
Yeah, I think
Regardless.
it would be a simple matter to include that definition in our regulations and
Yeah.
just specify
To
that
include.
that requires a permit.
Right.
And we haven't done it. And
Right.
I was being, well, the training that I've had as zoning administrator, they tell me to interpret regulations literally, not put
Right.
impose my definition on them. So, usually we say regulations ought to say what's allowed and what's not allowed, what needs a permit, what doesn't need a permit. And if it's silent on it, I just didn't take the stance of requiring one because we don't specifically say when needed. Select board pushed back a little and said, oh, I should just do it. I said, well, that's not really my job to do it. It's the job of the planning commission to write the regulations and then me to enforce the regulations. And I've always taken the attitude that I sort of view myself as the referee. I don't want to be the one to write the rules
Right.
and enforce them. The planning commission I provide input and I do the technical, I do all the typing up of things, but it's usually at their direction. But I don't want to be the one to write the rules.
Make the rules, then write them.
Right, yeah, it's like, I-
Have you researched with other municipalities?
What's that?
Have you researched with other municipalities?
I've had some brief conversations with, for example, Berlin. They say, yeah, we require a permit for a slab, but they probably have it in the regulations. So I can probably just look at their regulations and say, oh, I'm gonna borrow that and stick it in ours next time we update the zoning regulations. So that'd be a simple matter to do, but we haven't done it. But anyway, long story short, I've got a letter I'm getting off to the owner of that property saying, hey, really need this complete application, and if I don't get it, I'll give them a week or something, and if I don't get it, then I'm gonna have to issue a notice of violation. And what they can do is ask for and I told them, you're supposed to be 10 feet from the property boundaries, that's the setbacks.
Yeah.
And it looks like one of the homes is about 8 feet.
I know that's all on septic down there too. And
And I told the select board that I would reach out to the state. Typically, the DEC issues wastewater permits, septic permits, and it's sort of between the property owner, they're supposed to work with the DEC and, follow whatever rules are for where they put septic systems and things. And I don't typically, as a zoning administrator, adjudicate. I don't look at whether a septic system was installed in a proper location or certain setback from property boundaries. That's usually between the landowner and the DEC. But if I have to wade into that, I guess I will, but I don't look forward to that. But
some of those septic tanks were the old round metal ones.
Yep.
And
but anyway,
they used to, 2 trailers just to share one.
so anyway, long story short, I told him that setbacks are 10 feet. If you can't meet the 10-foot setback, you can ask the DRB for a waiver of setbacks. And they have the authority to grant you a smaller setback than 10 feet. But if a neighboring property owner wants to insist that they shouldn't, then admittedly, we probably have a mess to sort out. But I mean, the DRB can offer a smaller setback than 10 feet, but hopefully the neighbor will agree that 2 feet is a reasonable compromise just to keep peace and everything, but we'll see where it goes. But anyway, so it's possible that the developer may submit an application or two and need a waiver of setbacks, which would be a reason for the DRB to consider that. But I don't really want to be, I'm certainly not gonna coach you guys on how to adjudicate something like that. That's gonna be your call and, you know, neighboring property owners come in and say their piece and say, hey, here's what my concern is, and, you know, we'll sort it all out. But hasn't happened yet, but that's certainly possible that will pop up down the road.
Fair enough.
Okay, so that's all I've got for news, I think. Anybody else have any questions or things they want to chat about, or?
I'm good.
Okay,
No, the, down behind Rod Gray's house, Beth Gray's house, on that, up there, under one of the trailers up there, when they were doing that, mobile home park.
where are you talking about?
Falls over.
Oh, Falls Trail.
Northfield Park,
Okay, we're talking about the same place.
yeah. They pushed a couple old cars and then they buried them up, used them for leach field.
Interesting.
You might be surprised what's in the ground around here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Or not.
yeah,
Yeah, or not.
Or not.
yeah. I have a home that was owned by a contractor, and I used to kid his wife. I worked with her, and I said, like, in with our garden, a tricycle tire would come up out of the dirt sometimes, and she's, yeah, you'd be surprised what's buried in this yard.
Yeah, yeah.
So does anybody have anything else for the meeting tonight?
Okay. We're adjourned.
We meeting adjourned.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
The rules are very, very hard people to do business with.
Now there's, am I still on that show back?
Randy and Marie,
Randy, Newell.
Randy and his sister Marie, that's
Yeah.
grandma.
Yeah, that's, yeah, oh, I lived there for a couple of years and up on top. And